First batch of freed civilian detainees arrives in Russia's Kursk region after major Russia-Ukraine exchange. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan meet French Foreign Minister in Paris to push Gaza ceasefire. And Israeli Detainees Family Forum calls for immediate comprehensive detainees exchange to end war and secure relatives' return. Good evening and welcome to the 8 o'clock news here on Q News. I'm Mark Summers. The first batch of freed civilian detainees has arrived in Russia's Kursk region following a major Russia-Ukraine exchange. Earlier, both sides released 390 detainees, 270 soldiers and 120 civilians, with more planned, marking the conflict's largest exchange. Stemming from Istanbul talks on May 16th, this rare diplomatic breakthrough included a pledge to exchange 1,000 detainees each, though ceasefire talks stalled. Meanwhile, Russia has unleashed a massive overnight assault, firing dozens of drones and missiles, which is one of the conflict's largest aerial attacks. The strikes damaged apartments, injured 15, and sent shockwaves across the capital as air defenses struggled to intercept threats. Verified footage showed shattered windows and balconies at dawn. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for tougher sanctions to force a ceasefire, branding it a tough night for Ukraine. Amid fragile diplomacy, Russia and Ukraine exchange almost 400 detainees in a major deal. Yet escalating strikes and geopolitical tensions threaten fleeting peace efforts.
Russia and Ukraine have carried out their largest detainee exchange since the start of the conflict, with each side releasing 390 detainees, including both soldiers and civilians. The exchange, initiated by Moscow and linked to ongoing talks in Istanbul, is seen as a rare gesture of de-escalation amid a grinding and destructive conflict. However, the conflict itself shows no sign of slowing. Russian forces continue to carry out strikes across Ukraine, including recent attacks on the southern regions of Odessa and Kherson. In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed calls for tougher international sanctions on Moscow, accusing Russia of deliberately dragging out the conflict. Efforts to secure a ceasefire have been inconsistent. Earlier this year, Ukraine agreed to a US-brokered 30-day truce contingent on full Russian compliance. Following the agreement, Washington resumed military aid and intelligence support. Russia responded with cautious interest, though President Vladimir Putin cited unresolved political issues and concerns about enforcement mechanisms. The US administration under President Donald Trump has faced mounting criticism for its stance on the conflict. Critics say Washington has been slow to apply pressure on Russia, prioritizing economic ties over diplomatic leverage. This approach has caused tensions with European allies. While the detainee exchange marks a moment of progress, it comes against the backdrop of continued violence, unresolved political tensions, and a divided international response, leaving a durable ceasefire still out of reach.
Gaza now, and a joint statement from Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Jordan has detailed a meeting on May 23rd between a ministerial delegation and French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot in Paris. The discussions focused on international efforts to end the war on Gaza, facilitate humanitarian aid and address violations by Israeli authorities. The meeting also explored support for peace initiatives and preparations for a high-level conference on the two-state solution in New York next month. Explosions were reported across the Gaza Strip early today as Israel resumed its air and ground operations. The blast began around 3:05 a.m. local time and continued sporadically until after sunrise, with the last reported at 7:01 a.m. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military. However, the army routinely classifies all Palestinians as militants. The renewed strikes come as Israel presses ahead with an intensified offensive launched last week. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that the military campaign aims to establish full Israeli control over the entire Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Health Ministry has said 44 people have been killed in continuous Israeli airstrikes since dawn. Palestinian news agency Wafa has reported an Israeli drone strike targeted a house in Al-Amal neighborhood west of Qnews, killing an entire family. Another strike hit a house in Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. A correspondent from our sister news station, Al Qahira News, confirmed Israeli forces also destroyed two homes in Al-Fakhari, east of Qnews. Palestinian media has reported that Israeli occupation forces shelled the vicinity of Al-Auda and Indonesian hospitals in northern Gaza. The attack comes as Israeli troops continue to impose a tight siege on multiple areas in the north. Meanwhile, Israel's public broadcaster reports the army is preparing to deploy additional troops in Gaza as it expands its military operations. Now for more on this, we cross over to our newsroom with Selma Marwan. Selma.
Thank you, Mark. And for further analysis on the matter, Dr. Ayman Al-Raqb, the professor of political science at Al-Quds University, joins us from Cairo. Welcome, sir, to Q News, and delving right in, what effects do Israel's escalated military actions have on the humanitarian conditions in Gaza, especially concerning civilian casualties?
After greetings to you and your dear viewers, what's happening or witnessed by Gaza for more than 80 days of a continued outrageous war against the Palestinian people. There's a state of full destruction in the starvation of the Palestinian people, and what we've witnessed in the past 48 hours amid the delivery of the aid and the insistence of taking the route of the hot spots that were exposed in looting. And there is a great process of starvation and full destruction. We've seen a killing of a family of Dr. Ala and Nadar of 9 children in one strike, and along with the doctor worked in the hospital. Such scenes that are repeatedly take place by the occupying territories against defenseless civilian and innocent people. So, and their goal of starvation that push forward of outrage from the international community, and as killing children on daily basis without the and there is no ability of the whole world to stand by And we've seen how the killing is happening by all the Israeli components. So we're talking about a far right-wing community and is already using this as a systematic process.
Now, sir, was Netanyahu facing disputes from political figures, including Knesset members, accusing him of lacking an operational plan to defeat Hamas? How might this affect Netanyahu's upcoming strategy then?
Fortunately, whoever followed the statements of Netanyahu 2 days ago realized that this man is fighting for keeping him personally in the office, despite all the variables within Israeli cabinet, where voices of come out by the figure witnessed under the support of the pressure of his government committing crimes against humanity. Netanyahu is paying no attention for this. We see Netanyahu before the court is dismissed these charges and held in everyone is responsible and taken him out of such a matter. This man is living the nature of egoism. Unfortunately, the Quds party established by Netanyahu after being disbanded in 2004 is only a party of the one-man show, and who are within this party should support Netanyahu when the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel to come out to establish a new party. Followed return after that, he actually followed Netanyahu voluntarily. But up till now, as we follow the assignment of a new leader of the Shin Bet of Israel of internal security, we've seen how for everyone talks and whoever decided the assign of the new leader of the Shin Bet is Netanyahu's wife. And despite all of that, this corrupt system elected by a corrupt society, this system established in 2019 by Netanyahu, there were cases against Netanyahu, despite the Israeli society elected this man and never paid attention to all these variables. So what's happening within the coalition, we do not actually care as much as we can. But the most importantly is to stop the killing machine that is being practiced against the Palestinian people.
Sir, we also have the detainees' families who are calling for an immediate exchange deal. On the other hand, we have Netanyahu, who is seeking to appoint a new Shin Bet leader, like you've mentioned, who is opposing all of these demands. How might this affect the strategy? Does the public opinion have any role in this?
Up till now, the public opinion is limited mobilization along with this effectiveness. Even the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, talked this, that if you wish to topple Netanyahu, you should announce the civil disobedience. All these demonstrations for a few hours do not frankly affected the political scene within the occupation government, but these presence by all these people in the streets, they are the maximum faces of democracy, as we indicated. That the Israeli public opinion elected Netanyahu despite the corruption dossier in 2022. So it is expected for these people to elect him once again, despite all the corruptions facing. No one is to show against him. so the Likud party is the highest in the polling polls. So Netanyahu thinks what's happening to him, it's in his idea as stated in his own book. He wrote.
Lastly, sir, what can you share about the effects of Israeli drone strikes on aid convoys and civilian infrastructure and their broader implications for Gaza's humanitarian crisis?
As I pointed out, throughout the past days, international organization and the UAE through a project for delivering the aids into Gaza, but these aids were under the confrontation by the occupation to force these ships through the red road assigned by the occupation forces. So that would give the chances for looting so towards the worsen the humanitarian conditions, particularly for the children and the families that were waiting for a long time to receive all of the basic needs of food. Today we're talking about looting by thieves in roads secured by the occupation forces, which means is that occupations lay down the mechanism of delivery in Rafah and the buffer zones. So the population bloc were forced to move in the roads designated by the occupation as planned. That would worsen the situation in Gaza. That despite it, we're hoping that we have some sort of a break to mitigate the burden the Palestinians are facing.
That was Dr. Ayman El-Raq from Cairo, the professor of political science at Al-Quds University. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News. And now we go back to Mark in our studio.
Thank you very much, Sama Marwan there in our newsroom. The Israeli Detainees Families Forum has called for an immediate and comprehensive detainees exchange to secure the return of their relatives and end the war. The group claims a deal is already on the table, but Prime Minister Netanyahu is seeking to appoint a new Shin Bet chief opposed to such exchanges. Israeli Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee member Amit Halevi has accused Prime Minister Netanyahu's government of lying about achievements in Gaza. Israeli media quoted Halevi further saying the army lacks an operational plan capable of defeating Hamas. A heated exchange was reported during a recent Knesset session between Halevi and Defense Minister Israel Katz over the ongoing war in Gaza. In response, Katz likened Halevi to opposition politician Yair Golan, head of the Israeli Democratic Party. Katz accused Golan of defaming Israeli society and soldiers by comparing them to Nazis and blaming them for killing children in Gaza. Amid escalating security tensions in Libya, Egypt has swiftly evacuated 71 citizens from Tripoli, reinforcing its commitment to safeguarding nationals abroad. In a statement by Egypt's foreign ministry, an Egypt Air flight repatriated those registered with the embassy and the foreign ministry's crisis unit, following the directives of Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. The state covered all costs, ensuring a seamless operation. Authorities continue monitoring the situation, prioritizing citizens' safety, which is a testament to Egypt's proactive crisis response. Libyan Presidential Council head Mohammed al-Menfi has called on citizens to continue peaceful protests to support democratic change. He praised the recent demonstrations in Tripoli as a sign of responsible civic engagement and emphasized the need for institutions to listen to public demands. Syria's foreign ministry has welcomed the U.S. decision to lift certain sanctions, calling it a step toward easing the country's humanitarian and economic hardship. Damascus reaffirmed its readiness for cooperation based on mutual respect and stressed that diplomacy is the only viable path to restoring Syria's regional and global standing. A top Yemeni government official has reiterated that achieving a political solution and restoring Yemen's full sovereignty remain core priorities as efforts continue to end the country's prolonged conflict. Yemeni Foreign Minister Shayya Mohsen al-Zidani emphasized that the government remains committed to cooperating with regional partners to reach a comprehensive political settlement. He described the political path as Yemen's first and only choice for lasting peace. In a separate interview, senior Houthi official Mohammed Ali al-Houthi stressed that any peace deal must respect the basic rights of the Yemeni people. He warned that peace should not come at the cost of concessions that could compromise those rights.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين. وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Lebanon now, and Lebanese voters are casting ballots in the final phase of municipal elections in the southern provinces of Nabatea and South Lebanon. Authorities say operations rooms have been activated to handle inquiries and complaints, ensuring transparency and proper conduct. The Lebanese army has urged the public to comply with security measures during the elections in southern Lebanon. The army also warned against celebratory gunfire or any acts endangering civilian lives, especially amid heightened tensions in the region. Lebanon has announced the formation of a joint committee tasked with addressing conditions inside Palestinian refugee camps across the country. According to our correspondent, sources confirm that Lebanese-Palestinian Dialogue Committee will initiate a phased disarmament process inside the camps, set to begin in June. The roadmap includes a clear timeline for handing over weapons and is aimed at restoring state authority and security. Moving on to Iran now, and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has described the fifth round of Iran-US talks as notably professional, leading to a clearer mutual understanding. Araghchi noted that Oman's foreign minister contributed potential solutions, which both sides will review without immediate commitments. The Iranian foreign minister expressed optimism for deeper discussions in future negotiations, emphasizing that indirect talks remain ongoing. And that's almost all we have time for, but here's a recap of the main headlines this evening. The first batch of freed civilian detainees arrives in Russia's Kursk region after major Russia-Ukraine exchange. Egypt, Saudi and Jordan meet French foreign minister in Paris to relatives return. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget you can follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at Qnews EGY. Have a very good evening and stay tuned to Q News for more updates.